what's happening today in the retail world? Who's consuming what? What are your own trends telling you, as in the trends from your own stores telling you? In the last 5 years that we've seen somewhat uneven economic growth. I mean, depending on whether you trust the GDP numbers or not, at some level the economy has been growing, at some level it's not been growing. For instance, we've not seen much private investment, though we've seen some private consumption. So what's been happening and what has all that brought us to today? And once you answer that, then we'll use that to leapfrog into the next part of the discussion.
I think, Govind, if you look at India's growth story, we are nearly a $3 trillion economy. And if we grow at around 7% every year, we are adding up $200 billion of new economy every year. And we are adding up $1 trillion of economy every 5 years. Out of this $200 billion of economy, which are adding up every year, close to $100 billion is consumption economy. So this consumption economy is a huge economy, and I believe there is a play for everybody out here to get a share of this market. Now consumption is happening in every space, whether it is food, whether it is fashion, whether it is a mobile, whether it is airtime, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education. I think wherever the spend is happening, and I think it's a very big economy. And to get a market opportunity, I think it can't be a bigger opportunity than it was ever. So if you look at the market 5 years down the line, there is $1 trillion of new economy, out of which consumption economy would be around 500 billion. And the addressable market for group like us, food, fashion, home, and a lot of players out here is a significant portion. I believe we need many players, a lot of new categories, a lot of new brands, a lot of new ventures, a lot of new entrepreneurs to seize this opportunity. I think it was never so good. So in a sense, I think we are a victim of our past. We were in an era wherein all of us did things in our own way. But I think we are more sober now, more very different, understand the market, seize the opportunity, and create a business model wherein this opportunity can be served well, which can be a profitable business growth.
So when you say you did things in your own way, what exactly are you referring to?
I think once you are in business for the last 20-25 years, you know what not to do now. I think what not to do is basically don't get into ventures which doesn't allow you, which will never make money for you. So I think secondly is all about building scale out of whatever you have created and get your assets to sweat, get your people to work much more, get your money to work harder. I think this is what is all possible now. I think this is probably the 16th year of this forum, which is it started with IFF, maybe 12 years of the retail forum. I think we are seeing the palpation and the interest in retail business again. I think Amitabh tells me this kind of interest was generated before around 2006. After 10 years again, I think we are in there is a mood now that there is an opportunity and let's seize that opportunity.
So what's driving this?
A lot of things are driving this. One is Indian consumers are getting ready. If you look at the amount of new products getting launched, new categories getting created. I think 12 years ago we didn't have a women's fashion brand. I think we have seen the last funding of a W brand, which has been in about 2,000 plus crores. Before that, Biba was, we sold a stake in Biba, it was a different valuation.
Yeah.
I think there are so many brands which are coming of age. There are so many brands we have seen in the food business. There was a paper boat which didn't exist. There is a vitamin water brand. There are a Greek yogurt brand. There are multiple brands. ID was a brand which never existed then. There's a market getting created for each and every new category of products, which never used to exist maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And we believe that multiple things are going to happen. People are experimenting a lot. Consumers have changed. The woman customer, I think, is coming of age. A lot of changes are happening. We are able to see changes which are path-breaking changes. There are societal changes which are there in the marketplace, which will make consumption happen very differently. I always used to say, I was born to a socialist parent. I had a guilt of consumption. I think my daughters don't have any guilt of consumption as much as what I had. I think the next generation probably will not have any guilt of consumption. I started business when there were shortages. I think we are living in a land of abundance now. There are multiple players for every business, for every category. So it's a different world. and I believe much is going to change in the next 5 years.
So you're saying that it's a supply-driven demand. It's not a demand-driven supply, is it?
I think the aspiration level of consumers are rising. Today the new middle class is all about experimenting a lot. They are wanting to experiment with a lot of new products. They are wanting to experience new product categories. They are experiencing experience in a sense. They are consuming a lot of the news, a lot of consumption around media, a lot of consumption around entertainment. I think they never had it so good.
So let me come back to the question I was asking you. So if you were to look at just the last 5 years, right? So assuming 2008-9 was a difficult period, and you talked about a 10-year gap, but let me narrow that down to about 7 or 8 years. What does your experience of the last 5 years tell you in terms of, one is the growth of the physical retail, the arrival of online retail, and perhaps a very intense online retail push, some attempt by physical retail to push back, and the consumer perhaps a little confused because there is too much value or there is sheer value on one side versus maybe experiential, which is the new thing on the other side?
I think a lot of things which I spoke has happened in the last 5 years, to be very honest. I think they were in the making. So I see, if you look at the next 5 years from the last 5 years, because a lot of last 5 years there has been a foundation laid for the growth for the next 5 years in terms of categories, like women's western as a category never used to be so strong as what it is today. Look at the category of ethnic wear. I think we are seeing brands of crossing 1,000 crores of business. I believe these brands can now become 3,000 crores in the next 5 years. So we never used to see a brand of 1,000 crores. 100 crores was supposed to be a good number then. I think that even in the FMCG side of business, 25 crore was a good brand. I think 100 crore is the base which a lot of brands have now formed. We'll see them growing up to 300 crores, 500 crores in the next 5 years.
So that is looking good, right? So if you were to look at it from the point of future now for a moment, what are the big bets that you are taking? I mean, I know you've been talking about it, then they include a lot of acquisitions as well. And what are the 2 or 3 main assumptions that those bets are based on?
I think we have reorganized ourselves to be a very different company, from a retailer to a consumer goods company. We have been able to build multiple brands on the fashion side of business, which is a steady state business for us in a way. We are now building a lot of FMCG brands, especially in the food and HPC space. And we are now looking at creating distribution for so many brands which we have made. And for us, we are already operating in 250 cities of India. We opened in the last 6 months 5,000 stores of fair price in Rajasthan, which was a unique achievement for us. I think India is a huge opportunity. When we can open 5,000 stores in 6 months in one state of Rajasthan, which creates 1,000.
But the stores were already there. The stores were already there, right?
But stores were already there. But we created 240 new SKUs to be supplied in that store. I think infrastructure exists in the country. We have to use them to make it bigger. So the opportunity, when I look at 5,000 stores in Rajasthan, the opportunity of more than 20,000 stores in Rajasthan, and multiplied by 28 states, look at the opportunity. So I think India throws a lot of opportunity. Opportunity exists in every sphere of consumers. But I think we all marketeers, all people have been addressing only the top 10% of the market. I think the next 20% is also getting ready. The next 30% is also getting ready. I think we all have to learn to get into a much larger addressable market.
So the next 20% or the next 10% and the 20% after that, is that a bet or an assumption or both?
I think I personally went to Rajasthan 2 weeks back to get into all the smaller villages and understand what's happening. And I was amazed that the packaged goods demand is very interesting. My toilet cleaner has been the best seller out there in towns of 5,000 people. I think the amount of ketchup we have sold out there has been also very interesting. So I believe the opportunity lies. Supply is equal to demand in this market.
So what's driving it? Is it because consumers are obviously more educated, they aspire for packaged and branded goods? Or is it that you're landing up in a place where perhaps no real outlet existed?
I think there are a lot of things which are happening around us. But secondly, we have not seen a consistent supply of goods in the smaller markets, the town markets or the village markets. I think, so we created a plan of making 240 SKUs available to them in a consistent manner. And you can learn upon and keep on changing the SKUs. And it's a very interesting experiment, which we think is a very positive experience for us. And the market lies in the entire country to seize that opportunity.
So let me ask you the physical versus online question now. So if you were to break up the costs, and I'm sure many people here also would like to understand, and this is really what your vision, assumption and bet is. How do you compare and contrast where online stands today and where physical stands, and where both could stand 5 years hence?
I think I can talk about my model and whatever model I understand on the online space. I think we run multiple format of stores, but I think the most expensive format we run is a format called food hall, wherein our electricity cost is close to 10% of sales. But still, our cost of doing business is still 23-24% of sales out there, where electricity is one of the highest component of cost, because we manufacture a lot of goods out there in the kitchen itself. But if you look at all our other formats, we operate at a cost of 12-18% of sales, and maybe 23-24% in a case like food hall. Maximum in the beginning of a new store which we launch, maybe we cross 20% in some cases. But if you look at the online model, the current model, the way we are seeing it is the cost of acquiring a customer is 20%. The cost of fulfillment, as what they call, is around 20%. And the cost of establishment is, you don't know, it's significant. So the cost of doing business is significantly much higher than the cost of doing business in the physical world. In physical world, we also attained some scale. Our cost of advertising and acquiring a customer is less than 2% now. So I think from 2% to 20%, it's a very different model. Secondly, our supply chain cost is less than 2% again. So in the sense of cost of fulfillment. So when we also started online business, we thought there will only be a warehouse, there will be a technology, and the cost of doing business will be far lower. And I think that's the assumption on which we started Future Bazaar. Then so many players came in. Then we thought, let's build an interesting model called a Big Bazaar Direct, wherein we'll create an assisted e-commerce model and cut down the cost of doing business. I think the customer, even in the e-commerce space, is a very different customer. He's a much younger customer. He's looking at bargains, he's looking at deals. There are some customers who are looking at convenience, but probably they don't want to pay for convenience at the moment because they are being pampered a lot. So I think the model will evolve. Our cost of doing business will increase with the scale and the productivity which we will get, and the cost of doing business for them also has to come down. I believe the acquisition cost of customer will come down for them. The fulfillment cost, if the return percentages reduces and the cash on delivery reduces, I think it will change a lot. A player like Paytm, when I talk to them, they have acquisition cost of customer probably which is the lowest in the country. They don't have any acquisition cost because 99% of their customers pays through Paytm money. So they have developed a model which is a low acquisition cost of a customer. I think there will be models which will evolve, but the current players have a very high operating cost.
Right. So some people say you've chosen the last man standing model in physical retail, that and you will become bigger and bigger, and that's what eventually will give you the scale and the margins to survive. But is that what it is, or could anyone with some scale survive in this country and do well?
I think the way we are looking at is we are building up nearly 40 factories for food and FMCG play. We are getting into a lot of joint ventures. We have already started multiple factories. I want distribution for my business, for my products and the brands which we are building up. So we need scale for that. And we believe reaching more and more people, more and more geographies by opening a lot of small stores, using technology to do business and reaching to the remotest corners will help us to distribute our brands which we have built and which we are going to build.
So the shift from, let's say, being seen as a pure retail company to being a consumer product company, and that's what you're saying?
I think consumer goods company is a very interesting thing because I can sell my brands on any channel, not only through the physical channel, but I can sell it on the omni channel, I can sell it on a digital channel, I can sell it in other retail stores. I'm building brands and products, and we can sell it anywhere we want. So I'm de-risking my physical retail model in a way.
So you have about 47 fashion brands, if I'm not mistaken. Now, but are you able to sell those brands outside the Future?
I think most of our brands are sold outside Future Group also.
Okay. And is there a percentage, I mean, overall, I mean, for
I
all the
think
brands that you
I
make?
think this percentage is, we don't look at businesses from that perspective, but every brand should find its own feet. So we run a Lee Cooper brand, which is probably the second largest jeanswear brand. Our Jealous women's jeanswear brand is the number one jeanswear women's brand in the country. We are in joint venture with many brands. So I think our brands are available in many retailers. Even our FMCG brands are now available in probably most of the hypermarkets now.
So 5 years hence, I know you've talked about being a 75,000 crore company or 100,000 crore if you include 25,000 crores of acquisitions. Would you be seen or like to be seen as a consumer products company first and then a distribution company, or a distribution company and then?
I think we would love to be seen as a consumer goods company having its own distribution.
And is that, I mean, there must be more to that journey. It's going to be a tough journey, and which I'm sure has begun. And what can this audience here learn or expect from that? In terms of the challenges that you see ahead, in terms of the assumptions that you're making and the bets, to use the same example that I did.
I think India needs a lot of products and brands. So if you look at the positioning of our consumer goods company is for the fast moving consumer generation. All our products are designed for tomorrow's consumption. We are not getting into categories like biscuits or noodles or any other categories which there are experts and people who are perfected are already doing it. So we are getting into a lot of new age categories. And every brand of ours, every product is tested whether it is a product for tomorrow. And so I believe there's a great opportunity out here, and our business model makes it very interesting, because if you add up margins, you can create a model which is probably a very rock solid model.
Right. So if you were to look ahead, I mean, and where do you see the maximum growth coming from, and where do you see the maximum margins coming from?
I think we are into three categories of business, three lines of business as we call it: food, fashion, and everything to do with home. So food is a business wherein you need to create new categories to get margins, because your commodities can't give you margin. And you have to keep on perfecting your supply chain and make it very efficient to get margins. So that's a journey which is happening. We believe we are working a lot in building up a lot of backend to keep on increasing our margins. And our new product launches are helping us to keep on raising our margins. Fashion is again a business wherein if you are able to create great fashion products with a great speed, and we have to change the way fashion business is done. I think earlier we used to work on maybe 2 seasons or 3 seasons. We are working now on 7 seasons, 8 seasons. The mind to market is becoming faster. The velocity of doing business is changing. I think if we perfect that, the return on capital employed can be phenomenal. And margins were never challenge in fashion business. It was markdown which was the challenge.
Okay.
So I think once you are able to forecast well by use of technology, you can achieve very good margins in fashion business also. And home is a general merchandise, is a category where we have worked a lot in terms of improving our standards and the product qualities. And now we source material more from Germany and other European places than we source from China also.
Okay. So we've touched upon the future customer or the consumer, the millennial or the youth or the young consumer, who most people would feel is aligned to consuming online. How are you tracking this customer on a daily basis? I mean, do you have like a virtual or a physical dashboard where you say, okay, now this is where my customer is, this is the customer who I may never get, or if I get may lose very suddenly, and if I do get that customer, how do I nurture that customer?
I think we are learning the digital commerce business also. We acquired a company called Fab Furnish, and it's been a very interesting experiment for us. How can we make the first e-commerce company profitable at the company level, not at I think people talk of I'm profitable at the warehouse level. Some people say I'm profitable out here. I don't understand the profitability has to be at the company level. I personally believe Fab Furnish will become profitable for us in October. In October, which is the next month. And
profitable as in full net profits?
Profit at the company level.
Okay, so no accumulated losses, everything wiped out?
Not accumulated losses, because I have not bought the accumulated losses as such. But operating wise, we should become profitable.
Okay.
For what we did for that was reduce the spend in every which way and increase the sales. And we did spend on advertising, we didn't spend a lot in acquiring a customer, and we kept on increasing our business. I think you need, the day you decide that you don't want to grow disproportionately, I think one can become profitable. I think first we want to understand this new animal called digital commerce, understand the customer base, understand what do they want exactly. It's a very different world. What the digital customer is wanting is very difficult, very different from what a physical retail customer wants today. And that's the real challenge which will come about.
So tell us a little more about Fab Furnish. So you're saying that you increase sales. Now, that anyone would like to do. So what did you do that was different?
By getting into a lot of new products,
right, okay.
a lot of getting new categories up. And once you understood the market, what do they want, we have started creating that product. So I think it's understanding of the market, understanding the customer, and then creating products. Secondly, expanding the geography of doing business.
Right, but this is a digital business. So digital by definition means you're spending more on, let's say, Google ads or outreach.
We realize that quite a lot of money is taken away by Google in any case here. So we are not into the competing bids and the competing wars out there. I think we have told our people that we don't want to spend more than this amount on acquiring a customer.
Okay. So, I mean, you talk, the discussion on Fab Furnish automatically sort of takes us to young companies and young entrepreneurs. So, the good thing is that a lot of young entrepreneurs are getting into the space. They're giving people like you competition. That in turn influences a lot of other young people to do similar things. And I'm sure you see them when you go to universities. You were at a college day before yesterday in Delhi. Yesterday in Delhi talking about this. So what's your sense? I mean, where is all this energy going to go, and how is it all going to contribute to the better good? I mean, so let me add a couple of other questions that we asked, right? So new enterprises are coming up, entrepreneurs are getting funded, maybe less so now compared to a couple of years ago. Are they creating jobs? Are those jobs creating value? Is the economy as a whole benefiting? And who's really doing good in that sense?
I think startup as a word has become very sexy. I always use this word because there are a lot of pages devoted to what is startup. But I think India might need this because we need a lot of entrepreneurs. So there is a newfound kick of being an entrepreneur, which I believe is a very good thing. Secondly is we have to see how much entrepreneurs are able to imagine things and getting into product, services and categories which has a much larger canvas on which they can operate. I think there, I don't think people are thinking much larger than what they should think. Thirdly,
give me an example.
I think I am seeing a lot of startups, they can't go above a certain level because the canvas in which they are operating is a very small canvas. Whether it's in geography, whether it's in aggregation, it can't be a large business which can get created.
No, like a Flipkart says we have 100 million customers now, so isn't that large?
I'm not talking about people who have already arrived in a sense. I'm talking in general.
Okay.
And I think there is a particular theory by a professor called Sturgeon. He says that everything in the world which gets created, 90% is scrap. So I think the same thing is with startups also, and the same thing is with any businesses. So I think whatever activity we do in the whole day, I think 90% is unproductive. Only 10% is productive. I want that startup world should be very more successful than what we do in our daily life. How can they get 30% success rate? How can they look at a larger canvas? How can they be creating jobs? How can they create employment? How can they build the next big company out of India? I think that's a dream which you all have as an entrepreneur. I think this is a new world which has arrived, and I think this is the world which will change India if somebody emerges out of this. We see a lot of promising companies and we see a lot not so promising companies. But I think there is a good respect for startup now. The parents allow the children to get into a startup business. They allow them to work also there. I think it's a great start. And we wish they think much bigger, they dream much bigger, and we should work towards increasing the success rate.
Right, so you talked about canvas and you feel that, or rather you wish that the canvas were larger. Can you define that a little more in the context of retail perhaps?
So I have a very, when I look at the startup stories, you are forced to read a lot of stories about startups. And the stories interest me a lot because some says I saw one day I was not able to do this activity, then I thought I will start a business like that. So I read somewhere somebody was somebody wanted a what you call malish one day, and he was not able to find a malish wala. He said, I'll aggregate malish walas and create a business out of it. How much business can you create? And what is the size of the market you can build on? I think that's where I come about. Okay, somebody sees a problem in not getting a malish wala and creates a business out of that.
So you're saying that there's no substantial business input or in solving a real problem, or rather there's no effort to solve a real problem.
I personally believe that we have unbelievable talent in this country, and we have to see any business from a space of whether we are adding any value to the economy or not, any value added economy. I don't think so. If you cannot make money if you're not adding any value to the economy, because who will pay you money if you're not adding any value? And I think that's very important. When you do any new business, one has to see whether you are adding value to the economy.
So you feel, for instance, let's say a car aggregating company does not really create value.
It might create in the longer term, but in the short term, you are supposed to go from place A to place B. You would have gone. I don't know what is the value addition what is the value addition that is happening. The value addition might happen maybe if you don't now buy a car and you only use these services. You are replacing something by something.
Yeah.
So your car as an asset has become more productive because your car was sitting idle till the time it is not adding any value. But if you look at the total also, I did a rough calculation on the taxi aggregation. Even after 5 years, all the taxi companies put together, their revenues won't exceed more than 4,000 crores. All the companies put together in India, their company revenues. There is a dialogue of a movie, I don't remember which movie it was. It was Prem Chopra's dialogue. वो गंगा नहाएगा क्या और निचोड़ेगा क्या?
Okay, so let me ask you a slightly different question. So if you were to say that here are my 3 biggest challenges in retail, and you wish that someone came along and tried to fix it, what would they be?
I want to build a velocity of doing business, supply chain at a level which is unprecedented. I believe the world, Amazon has created a model of the delivery model which is very hard to emulate, which will change the way delivery business is done. I wish we can generate speed and velocity which they are able to do. Even if I can get 10% of what they are doing, it will be a great achievement.
Okay.
I think that's the first thing. Second thing I want to do is how can I forecast the demand of a product I am creating in a real-time basis and at a very fast speed. That is second thing which I would love to solve. And third thing is to do a collaborative planning and forecasting exercise. How can you forecast through your intelligence, and how can you plan your manufacturing to serve that forecast? I think these are the 3 things which I would love to do and which are the challenges for tomorrow.
So let me ask you a little bit about the environment today. So you've been fairly bullish. You're talking about a $500 billion opportunity, which is in imminent sight. How friendly is the environment today? To what extent are large companies, particularly like yours, able to use the demand opportunities to actually create the products and services that you would like to create?
I think we are all understanding the consumers, trying to go deeper and deeper into the markets, deeper and deeper through geography expansion, and there are a lot of revelations which emerges from a lot of small towns. The demand is sometimes more than what you had anticipated. And secondly, the societal change which is happening is something which we are looking forward to. So our last 3-year studies, which we do a 6-year monthly program called Bharat Darshan, wherein a team of people of 15-20 people stay for 15 days in a particular town and see the societal change which we record and see how it can influence a business or a product. And it is the last 3 years has been showing only one trend, a secular trend, that the girl child in this country is respected like never before, and the respect is increasing day by day. I think this is the biggest societal revolution which is happening, which will help the consumption grow and which will create a market. In my early years when we started retail business, in a lot of markets the woman was not empowered even to shop. They were not given money to shop. Even the women used to come in from Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday they were seen with their husbands footing the bill. So they didn't have power to shop also. I believe this will be a big shift.
Right, so that's one aspect. The environment is also policy, the environment is government, you have GST which is coming. How do you see all of those aspects helping or perhaps not helping the retail business, at least in the near term?
When I went to Rajasthan, when I saw whatever I saw in terms of consumption, demand, and what's happening, I realized that the road network which got created in Rajasthan has created this boom. Because everywhere there are good roads. I think the roads have created a lot of people mobility. So when I met all the franchisees of the fair price shops, one of the children, his aspiration levels are very different. They are going to the towns. Most of the franchisees are wanting the children to work with us also. They see them going to towns, using technology, working with a larger company and learning something and coming back and contributing. I think that's a very big change, and that transportation is allowing them to do multiple things.
So you're saying physical infrastructure has provided a big boost to
Big one.
retail distribution. What about policy? I mean, what are the issues that you feel are still confronting this issue today and ought to be addressed in a speedy manner or should be reckoned with?
I think government is looking at e-commerce as a separate business rather than looking at retail as a business. I somehow believe that retail is a business. You use technology to do every business. And technology is not a hawa, it only comes for a time, it becomes a routine part of your life. And I think the government has a different way of looking at e-commerce and different way of looking at physical retail. I think all the hulla about FDI in retail was all about food retail, which the government has opened up. And imagine they are not opening up home retail or electronic retail or other retails. So I somehow find this little skewed towards probably a wrong move which happened much earlier and nobody is able to correct it. So I think we have become a little hypocritical on this. We expect a very good policy on the total retail business, which is physical, digital, infrastructure, supply chain. I think we need a lot of support because retail is the last leg of any economic activity. It creates millions of jobs, it creates millions of opportunity because consumption leads to development of any nation. Consumption creates jobs, consumption creates manufacturing, consumption creates services, and I think that this forum is all about consumption, and that's why we see so much of interest happening in this space.
You were also seen at one time lobbying against the online players. Is that something that you're...
I think we never lobbied against. We said they should not be treated as damad. We are equal damads here. I think we are all equal in the same country, working, operating in the same space.
And do you feel that, as we come to the end of our discussion, do you feel that capital is going to be is it going to flow easily? Is it going to be a concern, particularly for traditional retail wanting to grow?
I think physical retail is still starved of capital. I think capital is not so easy to come by to a physical retailer than to a digital retailer. But I think you have to now create businesses which can fund your growth. There is no way you can raise capital otherwise.
So last question, I think we've run out of time. So what's the most audacious thing that you're going to do in your world in the next 1 year?
Probably we are the only retailer in the world who is now saying that we are a consumer goods company and 70% to 80% of what we sell in our stores will be our own brands, which will be manufactured by us, which will be distributed by us. I think nobody else has ever done this, so it's very, very audacious.
Okay, that's a good note to end on. Thank you very much, Mr. Biyani. Thank you.